Hi, this is Richard Hayzler, proud principal of Pequannock Valley School, a grade 6 through 8 school in Pompton Plains, New Jersey, as part of the Pequannock Township School District. And welcome to this week's episode of Learning Sparks, where we learn and grow together, talking about instructional strategies that enhance student learning in your classrooms. One of the biggest struggles that I hear about from teachers when I talk to them inside and outside of the classroom is student motivation. They often say, my students just aren't that motivated. I can't get them to do the work that I want them to do, and it's just so frustrating to me. And so my question back to them is usually, how many students are there that aren't motivated? And their answer depends on the advice that I give. If I hear that a majority of the students are not motivated in the classroom, then we really need to sit down and take a look at the instructional strategies and the activities that are being used in that classroom to see if it's an instructional issue or it's a student motivation issue. Because maybe we need to do some things in the classroom where students are more motivated to do. And maybe it's our instructional style or our leadership style. If it's a few students in the classroom, then we need to figure out how to motivate those unmotivated students on a personal level. And so what I like to do is I like to learn. I like to take a look and see what resources I can utilize to make myself better as an administrator and to help make my teachers better. And so one of the things that I turn to is educational blogs. And one of my favorite blogs is the Cult of Pedagogy blog by Jennifer Gonzalez. And she wrote a blog on motivating the unmotivated, and I'd like to share some of the tips that she utilized and talked about in that blog. One of the things that she mentioned that I agree with wholeheartedly is that we need to build positive relationships with the students. And we need to ask ourselves some very important questions. What relationships do we have with those students who are unmotivated? Do we know what makes them tick? Do we know what they're passionate about? Do we really spend time with them on a daily and weekly basis, getting to know who they are, what their strengths are, and what their areas of concern are? One of the strategies she talks about is the 2x10 strategy. Talk to the student for 2 minutes, 10 days in a row, and I think you'll be surprised with the results that you find. That's a challenge that I'm taking on this next coming week, is I'm going to try and talk to some of those students who are unmotivated twice a day and see if I can find them in their classrooms, in the hallways, in the cafeteria, and find out what they're really passionate about. Another thing that she talks about in helping the unmotivated student is providing choice. Choice can be messy in a classroom. It can be time-consuming from a planning perspective, but the benefits that you get when providing student choice can be many. Whether it's the seating in your classroom, the groups that you do, the activities, or the assessment, providing students with a way to express their passions and giving them choice in their learning can really spark what happens in your classroom. Students are talented. You might have an artistic student who doesn't get to express that ability in your classroom. You may have a student who's a gifted musician. You may have an actor or an actress in your classroom. Capitalize on those skills and techniques and talents and let those students shine within your classroom. And a student that may have been unmotivated may be your most motivated student. One of the other things she talked about, and the third tip in her blog, is eliminating extrinsic motivation and consequences when creativity is involved. Sometimes when a student is unmotivated, we offer grades, or we offer food, or we offer privileges, or there are consequences that we use to prod the student into doing something they don't necessarily want to do. So I think what we need to do is we need to look at the way that we're assigning activities. One of the examples she talks about is really in just the way that we say something. If you're giving an assignment, instead of saying, hey, I'll give you 2 of these for extra credit, say, listen, these first 10 problems are super easy. I'm looking for the person who's going to do the challenging 2 at the end. And maybe there's a student there that's looking for a challenge. They've been unmotivated because the class isn't challenging enough. It gives them that opportunity to look at those tough questions. The fourth thing that she talks about in motivating the unmotivated is students must believe that they can improve. One of my previous episodes of Learning Sparks, I talked about the growth mindset. But it's important that we're providing specific constructive feedback for the students so that they know what they need to improve upon, the skills that they're doing well in, and so that they know what they need to do to improve. Because when students get frustrated and then become unmotivated, it's because they don't know necessarily how to improve or how to succeed. So as teachers, we need to make sure that we're providing that specific feedback. And then the last tip she gives, the 5th tip in her blog, is make learning relevant. Bring relevance to lessons. Have activities that apply to real life whenever possible. My phrase that I like to use is connection, outcomes, and reflection. Make sure that you can connect the learning to something, and the students can provide an outcome, whether it's a project-based activity, having them design something, and then have them reflect on it. So if they can connect their learning to an outcome and then reflect on it, there's a lot of power in that motivation, because the students will see that there is a linear approach to their learning, right? They are drawing connections to the content, they're getting to design something, and then you reflect on it together so that they can demonstrate mastery. Because ultimately, when you have unmotivated students in your classroom, it's not that they can't do it, they just have their potential has not been tapped into yet. And so we need to do whatever we can as teachers and administrators to motivate those unmotivated students. So I encourage you to continue to learn and grow. Check out the blogs that are out there. Check out the Cult of Pedagogy blog. It is fantastic. And so I look forward to continuing to learn and grow with you on Learning Sparks. Please follow me at Rich Hayzler, connect with me on Twitter, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode, and always remember, do what's best for kids. Have a great day.